All right, welcome in. I am the Kodiak Broncos Podcast, and today I'm here to talk about three guys who the Broncos should not bring back going into next year. So these are three pending free agents or guys that might make sense for the Broncos to cut, and I just want to say a couple things. First of all, leave a like if you enjoy, subscribe if you're not already. My comment question of the day is, do you think that we are better than the Texans? I know the Texans went further than us in this upcoming year, but I'm curious to hear, do you think that we're more of a complete team? Do you think we're a better team than they are? I'm curious to hear that. Follow me on Twitter if you like what I have to say on here at Kodiak Broncos. Let's dive right into it. So, when I say do not bring these guys back, or three guys that I do not want on the roster, I wouldn't freak out if they were brought back for a vet minimum. But seeing all the deployment with Javonte Williams this upcoming year, this past year, I just don't think it gives us any glimmer of hope for the future for his career in the NFL. Sucks to say because I feel like we were robbed of an awesome peak and what could have been with his knee injury that occurred in 2022, Week 4 in Las Vegas. But I understand why he was given an opportunity this year. And they bet big on him. They didn't bring anybody else in. It was a pretty strong free agent class last year. Granted, the running back draft class was not that strong. But, he was 2 years post-ACL tear, and everybody says, okay, well, 2 years post-ACL tear, that's when you're supposed to get 100% recovery. It seems like Javonte Williams, that just never materialized. It seems like the form that he had before he tore his ACL just was not discovered. And I feel really bad for the dude because he did all the right things. He has done all the right things as a Bronco. Javonte Williams, I give you a huge mile-high salute. Sean Payton, George Payton, please do not bring him back. Okay. Unfortunately, a lot of his pluses as a player, like a lot of the things that people really liked about him, were drained by the injury, and a lot of the things that were not that good about him were amplified. For example, he was never the fastest back, okay? I think even coming out of North Carolina, we knew that he wasn't the fastest back, okay? But just based on the fact that I don't think, could run faster than a sub 5.5 40-yard dash, that really, really exemplifies how grim things had gotten for him this year. Rookie year Javonte, we had really missed that ability to see him, drag guys on his back. That's something that we haven't seen the past 2 years, honestly. Javonte Williams just having those crazy, crazy runs. And whether it's a lack of trust in the knee or whether it's just a lack of strength because he basically tore his entire knee up, I'm not entirely sure. But I'm also not happy with the coaching staff for not finding a viable solution while he was struggling. Okay, we should have seen more Blake Watson. We should have seen more Estime after he came back from his own injury. We should have seen more Jaleel McLaughlin. It's crazy because in Javonte Williams, talking about him this past year, in the games where we saw very little of him, I still think we saw too much from him, okay? I think back to the Cincinnati game where we threw him that screen pass in overtime, and I'm like, what? Like, seriously? Our season's on the line in this overtime game, and you're going to throw him a screen pass to, set up, a second and long? That just didn't make sense to me. Like I said, the personnel deployment, that's not on him. That's not his fault. I know that there is a merit to running backs in the NFL and having the trust of a coaching staff, and it's clear that Sean Payton had trust in Javonte Williams to not blow a block, not fumble the football, even though that's something that he did a handful of times this year. But he got a decent third down role on this team. Okay, and I think with a rookie quarterback, one who likes to run outside the pocket a lot, having a good pass-protecting running back was good for the Denver Broncos, okay? And it was good for Bo Nix. And honestly, being able in the NFL going forward for Javonte Williams, even if it's not with the Broncos, being able to find that Samaje Perine role where you're just not really asked to rush. You're literally not a first, second down dude. You're literally just asked to catch dump-offs. And because you don't have hands of stone, you're not going to drop them. And protect the quarterback. That is not a bad spot to be in as a football player. But for the Denver Broncos, he's just not what we need. He's just not what we need, and it's just time to move on. Once again, mile high salute, Javonte Williams. I'm sorry we never saw your peak. It's really, really painful to me, especially as a dynasty fantasy football player. Javonte Williams was my second rookie draft. His year was the second rookie draft I had ever gone through, and I loved what he could have become in the NFL. Just never materialized. So, going to the safety spot right now, PJ Locke. So this was a guy who definitely had earned his chance to be a mainstay on this defense going forward. Okay, we cut Justin Simmons, and honestly, I think a lot of it was due to cap savings, and I think an underrated part of it was, okay, PJ Locke could be something, and we're going to put some trust in PJ Locke to potentially take that next step, because PJ Locke had been a really good special teams player for the Broncos. PJ Locke had been a really good, relief safety when Kareem Jackson was, going through all his struggles last year, staying on the field because he kept getting suspended. So PJ Locke had definitely earned his chance. I'm not going to sit here and pretend like he didn't. I don't want to, be hindsighted with any of this. But unfortunately, he was just bad. Like, I don't know how else to say it. At least with guys like the next guy I'm going to talk about, at least he played relatively well in the early part of the year. But throughout the whole year, man, PJ Locke was just terrible. Like, I don't know how else to say it. And the fact that he could not play well in one of the NFL's best secondaries next to a guy who played very, very well at the safety spot this year in Brandon Jones, or at least played very well at the strong safety spot in Brandon Jones, that's very telling. He was playing next to Surtain. He was playing next to Riley Moss. He was playing next to Jaquan McMillan, probably one of the strongest cornerback groups in the NFL. And when you're playing next to one of the best strong safeties in the NFL this past year, granted, it remains to be seen if Brandon Jones keeps building on this, but he played very, very well this past year. So 4 out of the 5 dudes in our secondary, at least the ones that start, were absolute dogs. So PJ Locke was one of the worst starting safeties in the league. Like, if you look at literally any metric and like yards given up, touchdowns given up, explosive play rate, PFF grade, like all that hates PJ Locke. And he was the biggest liability all year on defense. And I swear that there is nobody who played worse in our losses than PJ Locke. Okay, it's a huge testament to the coaching staff that we played as well as we did the entire year on the defensive side of the ball with PJ Locke as one of our starters. But, he played his worst football on those money downs, okay? I believe that in our losses, we allowed our opponents to convert on third down at 55% of the time, which is just absolutely terrible. That's inexcusable. And, we can save $4.1 million if we cut him. And that's just not a hard choice to me. That's not a hard choice for what he brings, because honestly, if you're looking for safety depth, you probably already have that on the roster with Skinner. I think Skinner, probably not the same role, because I think Skinner is supposed to be more of a box safety. But if you're looking for more of like a traditional free safety, I think Locke probably just needs to be replaced. And he could be replaced in the draft. He could be replaced in free agency. We could bring in Javon Holland. We could draft, Eman Warrior. I know is a guy that a lot of my friends in Broncos country are really, really big on. But either way, PJ Locke, once again, I've just seen enough of you. Sorry to say, once again, mile high salute. But I will not miss watching dudes run past you, and I will not miss you getting bodied by Hassan Haskins and Gus Edwards at the end of the Chargers game on Thursday Night Football this year. So another guy who was not supposed to play this year, PJ Locke at least expected to start coming into the year, Justin Strnad, okay? This was another guy who, we hadn't really found the means to replace him. Like, when you are a rebuilding team and when you have $90 million in dead cap and when you have such limited draft capital over the past 3 years because of A, the Russell Wilson trade, B, the Sean Payton trade, it's a very, very low priority position. And Drew Sanders tore his Achilles before the year even began, or before offseason stuff really even began for the most part. So Justin Strnad was not supposed to be anything for this team. And I guess that is good for him. Like, in his defense, he was not supposed to play on the defense this year. And once Alex Singleton went out in week 3, we didn't really have a lot of solutions. But Strnad did make sense for that because he had been with our team for 5 years. He'd been basically a part of the same defense that we had run even when he was coming into the league, and Fangio had run, and, now with Vance Joseph as well. And he played well beyond the expectations, especially early on, like week 4 against the Jets. Like, I was really, really happy with his performance that game. But ever since that game, it just kind of crumbled, and it never really picked back up. He was another player that was absolutely horrible in all of our losses. Like, I remember both Chargers losses, they were absolutely picking on him. And once again, like PJ Locke, he stuck out like a sore thumb. Just couldn't cover the middle of the field, just absolutely dreadful. And one thing that is really weird to me is that overperforming low investment inside linebackers have become a staple of our team. Like, this dude was literally a 5th round pick in 2020. I can't remember if we signed him to a vet minimum extension to fill out the rest of our roster. But, it had almost become like a Broncos thing over the past few years, and within our organizational philosophy, to have guys like Jewell, to have guys like Singleton, ball out for our team. And unfortunately, that just didn't translate for Strnad. unfortunately, it just didn't translate for him. And, once again, this is not a dude who can point to the fact that, there's a lack of talent around him. No, 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 no. When you have Nick Bonito, Zach Allen, one of the best secondaries in the league behind you, Jonathan Cooper played very well this year. Our entire interior defensive line played very, very well this year, except for in 2 games. So there's not really an excuse for Strnad or Barton, honestly. Now, what I will say, Justin Strnad, I forgive you. Since I don't have to watch you get torched every week, since I don't have to watch you, blow assignments on the defensive side of the ball every week, I forgive you because you were not supposed to start. But I hope you have a very, very successful career elsewhere. And I hope that the Broncos can find a real solution at the inside linebacker spot. Okay, I want Nick Bolton. I want Dre Greenlaw. I want, Lindenberg from Minnesota, who has been really, really showing out and kind of been rising up boards lately, because I'm really impressed with his ability to want the green dot, and he says he wants to call the defense. So all these guys, I want a real quarterback of the defense, okay? I want a guy who will have chess matches with Herbert, chess matches with Mahomes. And unfortunately, when you have guys like Cody Barton and Alex Singleton and Strnad on every down, it just becomes a little more difficult to play defense in that regard. So yeah, Drew Sanders is another one that wouldn't surprise me if he took steps forward. I know I made a video talking about guys who recently who should become something, or at least I wouldn't be surprised if they become something. And Sanders was on there too. But we're going to invest in inside linebacker this offseason. I'm excited to see what we do. So yeah, that does it for me. Leave a like if you enjoy, subscribe if you're not already, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace. Bye. Salute.